We're at the Sunset Tower Hotel, my fave joint in Los Angeles, on a really cold and rainy day. Today, we are all having lunch with an accomplished, incredible actress. She is an Oscar winner, Screen Actor Guild Awards, National Board of Review Awards, Critic Choice, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, and I am talking about Octavia Spencer.
Hello! Look at you, handsome devil. Oh my God, this rock hard body, and I feel like a marshmallow. This is the best idea.
Octavia walks into the Tower Bar, immediately starts cracking jokes, and she's just a vision and a force always to be reckoned with. But what she doesn't know is that today, I got a couple of surprises for her. Eric, come on over, meet Octavia, and you get Octavia a drink, and...
Well, I'm gonna have some Diet Pepsi. Yeah.
My first surprise is a bottle of Octavia's favorite cocktail, and it will surprise you, which I kind of quickly realized may not be the perfect gift.
I'm a terrible driver, and the fact that there's rain, but it's dry January.
I tried to do dry January last about.
Well, for me, it probably won't be very dry when I get home.
So everybody who's pulled up a chair, I have Octavia's favorite drink, even though she is.
Listen, I'm gonna tuck it into my purse.
You are. So don't open it.
That's a party gift.
So the intention of this was to toast season 3 of Truth Be Told. But this could be a party gift. Octavia, tell the people who pulled up a chair what your favorite drink is.
My favorite drink is the Sangria Maria Hoya from Trader Joe's. We should probably pop it open just
a little bit. So pull up a chair because we're ruining some New Year's resolutions today. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's so
Let me tell you, that is good. I don't give a shit what anyone says. This is good. I'm Bruce Bozzi, and this is my podcast, Table for Two. So season 3, Truth Be Told, it is on Apple TV. It dropped on January 20th. I mean, this shit is real. Poppy is. So, I'm going to start there because I also want to talk about your star. It was a big year for you. Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff.
So this is an intense season, okay? Now, there's some real shit going down in this town, and Poppy is not happy until she finds it out. Tell me about Truth. Tell me about Poppy Scoville.
You know what I love about this character? And what's wonderful is that it's an anthology series. So, you don't have to have seen season 1 or 2 to be up to date of what happens.
Right.
It's a different mystery that we solve each season. But what I loved is we've seen Poppy's arc. When you first meet her, she's just left the New York Times and moved back to California where her family is. Big house, right. Husband.
Right.
But she didn't have his last name. She was using her mother's maiden name. She didn't even have Scoville, which is her dad's
name. She finds all that.
She finds there's a lot that we go through with Poppy, but it's funny because I think she essentially is finding herself. And I don't think she ever realized that she was lost. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that's what life is. And work-wise, she is committed to being a journalist, and truth is at the center of everything. And but the other thing about journalism is that the journalist is never a part of the subject. Poppy, being a podcaster, is always a part of it. She's so
Poppy puts everyone's life at risk.
Yes, she does.
She really does. For the truth.
For the truth. And that's where it's so much fun to play her. Very interesting because I don't know danger, truth, I understand as me personally. You always want to tell the truth. You always want to be truthful in situations and relationships and the people you love, the people that surround you. But there's this mechanism within her to where it's I think it becomes a detriment to anyone around her if they're involved in the mystery, because it's like the pursuit of truth. harms a lot of people.
Well, that's an interesting thing you bring up because it does. Like you know, in season 1, you really put your family in a very difficult position. And your sister, I mean, it's heartbreaking when they arrest your sister, and it's beautiful in a tragic way when they start to take off how she presents herself.
Yes.
Octavia. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, when your dad's pissed at you, and now, you know, in season 3, you know, like you said, it's an anthology, so everyone's in a different place in their life, in your family, and you're living in a different place. Is there anything Poppy would not do or is the truth that...
I think she's learned a lot about, because everyone has an interesting relationship with the truth. Everyone has a different perception of the truth. And I think that is where and how she has matured throughout the seasons. Because in season 1, it was, you know, it didn't feel self-righteous to her, but it was, you know, from everyone else's perspective.
Yeah.
And going into season 3, with all of the losses, whether through death or through divorce or through divorce of marriages, divorces of friendships, she has had to reconcile that within herself. That everyone has a different relationship with the truth. And some things she's not entitled to know. But when it comes to victims and justice, that's where she will turn over every rock. And that's where I love that she's evolving as a person. But personally, I just don't think that we're all entitled. We're entitled to everyone else's truths unless they want to tell them. You know what I mean?
Completely. Like you can lean into someone's truth and they can say, and we all have it. We all have it in our lives. There are things that just don't come near. But I'm nearly done. But it's like literally just, you can't stop. And you're right. The beauty of it is, you can watch all 3, you can watch 1, but I'm telling you, you watch 1 and you need to watch the second, and it ends and you're like, oh, I'm going to take a break. Play.
That's what binging, I hate that they've, you know, introduced binging into our lives, because it's like, you better have a little time, because you start watching stuff and it's like, let me hit play, let me hit play. Oh.
No, Apple sent it to me yesterday. And I'm talking Trini, okay? That's how many hours I have spent.
You're invested now. You're deep.
Oh, I'm deep. I'm like, that fucking mayor, I need to know what's going down. So you think when we're done having our lunch, I'm not going to be sitting with you again for 3 more hours today? Honestly. Oh my God. First of all, congratulations to Octavia Spencer. She got a star on Hollywood Boulevard. This is a big deal.
You know what? It really is.
It's a big deal. And you know, you talk about your tribe. And I'm going to quote you here, Octavia.
Oh.
And you say, 26 years ago, when you drove from Alabama to LA with $3,000 and a 48-inch TV, and a suitcase, and a heart filled with dreams, these dreams. And then you talk about the tribe. And I always say, you know, there's the John Cassavetes, if you're listening, he had a tribe. He had Jenna Rollins, he had Peter Falk, you had John Hughes growing up, he had Molly Ringwald, he had Rob Lowe. You're part of a tribe.
Yeah.
And that's 1996. Talk to us about your tribe and your truth in that journey.
Oh my God. It's so funny because you dream when you're wherever you are, dreaming about coming to Hollywood or going to New York, or being a person in the entertainment industry or stage or film. You always envision that journey. It's like, it's you, it's me. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And when I actually moved out here, I realized it wasn't a solitary journey, that the people in my life, we were all in pursuit of the same dream. And it was, I met Melissa McCarthy. I mean, I met them, Allison Janney. I met them all when I first moved out here. And
wild. Because you met Tate and Octavia were PAs on a Joel Schumacher film, which coincidentally, prior to this, I watched. And all of a sudden, I'm watching it. And there you are, the nurse.
Pop up for a second.
I'm like, wait, there's Spencer.
Innocent. We won.
Right. So that is, okay. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No. But that was the truth. And Tate Taylor, I met Sandra Bullock, Sam Jackson, Matthew McConaughey. To meet all of those people on the very first job that I got to work on, and then to meet, to have that relationship. Tate and I have been thick as thieves. And it's so funny because I moved out to Los Angeles when I was 26. My actual career for everyone else started when I was 42.
Right. Wow.
That's when, everything happened for me because, Tate and Brunson Green, who was the producer of The Help, and Tate wrote and directed it. They fought for me to have that role in The Help. I mean, I auditioned. They didn't audition anybody else.
Right.
Thank God.
They knew they wanted you.
They knew they wanted me.
Right.
But I had to go in there and do the job. And so it was the comfort of having the tribe there.
Yeah.
And we've just rolled along all these years working on each other's, things. And it's just, I'm so grateful for that because that is my truth in knowing how those relationships and hard work, because there are so many talented people in this town who haven't broken through, and I'm no more talented than they are. I think it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of a little bit of talent, a lot of training, but a lot of relationship.
Welcome back to Table for Two, where we're talking with the amazing Octavia Spencer. She is inspiring on so many levels, but something I always come back to is her tenacity and persistence to go after her dreams, no matter how long it takes. We're going to get into all of it, but first, we need to order some lunch. So what are you going to have for lunch today, Ms.
I'm
Spencer?
having that salad.
Okay, a little chopped salad with a little protein.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I mean, look at you. I'm looking at you and I'm like, it's working for him, right?
I do the chop with the chicken.
I'm going to do the chop with the chicken as well.
2 chopped with chicken.
To your last point, take the time to prepare for your opportunity.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
I think, especially given where we are with technology and social media, there are steps in the process, I think, that people want to skip because it's about fame sometimes, and it's about being out there. Oh, no one has noticed me yet, and I think you have to be prepared because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come. So you have to study. And when you think about it, I remember my mom, and it was the most practical advice she has ever given, and it's just it's my mantle, Whenever if you're the first job you ever get, if it's a fry cook, if it's a newspaper boy, someone's going to train you on how to do it. This is how you sell your newspaper. This is how you cook my fries.
Right.
Whatever else it is, whatever field of study, you're going to have to train.
Yeah.
And so take the time, because if you're 3 years in, if you're 15 years in, if you're 1 year in, if you don't have the comfort of training, that's your foundation. And if you don't have, your land legs, when that opportunity presents itself, it could mean failure.
Yeah, because if you don't build upon it, you don't have the goods. You don't
have the foundation. You have to have that foundation, because whatever it is, everybody feels like an imposter.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done the best to prepare for whatever it is. You can't be a doctor without going to med school.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nobody's going to let you doctor on them.
Right. And the fool that does might not get off the table.
Exactly.
So it's really true. You know, I found myself when I graduated college, I went into the NBC Page program. And it was a great program, and I gave tours, and I think similar to you and Tate, like, always had fun. It was always something kind of little trouble going on. It was just giving tours to these people, and one of the assignments I had was on the Today Show, which nobody wanted because it was super early in the morning, summer of '89. And I did. And so I did. I interviewed. You had to interview for it. And I kept pointing to the producer, and she was like, one word of advice, stop pointing in the interview. And I was like, oops. And I did it. And my job was literally, like, Octavia, you would come, you'd have a segment on, and I'd get you the hair and makeup. I'd greet you at 5:35 in the morning. So I did it for that summer, and I was running. And my last day, Jane Pauley said, so here's your last day. And she goes, if you would like, I'd like to write you a recommendation. I said, well, why? All I did was get people to makeup and to hair and ran scripts for you. She said, it wasn't what you did, it's how you did it.
See?
And you always came to work with a smile on your face. And so I think that's our lessons in life.
Yeah.
And so your journey from 26 to winning the Academy Award, that foundation is so important.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Was there ever a time in that period where you're like, what am I doing? Why am I here?
Well, that's why it's important to have a tribe.
That's true.
Because when you have those moments of self-doubt, your tribe will surround you.
Right.
And lift you up from those moments of despair. And I didn't have a lot of moments like that, but when I did, it was like, of course you're going to be great. Of course you're going to succeed. Because I was watching all of my friends. I remember when Melissa McCarthy got Gilmore Girls.
Right.
I remember when Allison Janney got The West Wing. I remember when my friend Stephen Rogers, who wrote I, Tonya, all of his movies, were selling as a writer. So I was just a part of this group, and no one ever allowed anyone to think that they weren't going to make it across the finish line.
Right.
And that's how we all got there together.
Right.
And it just, there were moments though, that you're like, what am I doing? And the funny thing is, when success happens, the years fly by because you're on a plane, on a location, and you look up and you've been working for 4 years. And so then I realized I would start to measure time by, family and kids and growth. It's like, oh my God, you're on your second baby.
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
I just love every aspect of the journey. Right. And I know that I love every aspect of it because I was in it with a very strong group of friends, a very fun group of friends.
I can remember, hanging with Janny or hanging with Tate and being with you and hearing the stories filled with laughter and the truth. It always goes back to the truth of, people that really loved each other and weren't going to let their success, because, some people get successful and then they ditch. They die in a ditch. They're out.
They weren't ever living truthfully then with their group.
So would you say the moment for you that changed it all was winning the Academy Award?
It was prior. It was leading up, because think about when The Help came out. It was a huge book.
Yeah.
It was a huge ensemble cast. If I didn't get that part, even if I hadn't been considered for the Academy Award or what have you, look at all the women in that film.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And how the careers have progressed.
Yep.
I think had I not been a part of that film and that ensemble and that troupe of actors associated with that project, I don't know that the career trajectory would have been the same.
Okay.
I'm glad that the film was successful. Did the Academy Award help? Absolutely.
Sure.
But the first thing is I actually had to get a role that would lead to an Academy Award or a BAFTA,
right. To help us come up in conversation, it's an incredible movie. You're incredible.
Thank you.
And it also has come up in, could it be done today? And I get confused with that question, because part of me is like, well, if it happened, why can't the story be told?
Why can't the story be told? I think what's happening in society right now is very, very dangerous because, we are scrubbing the history books.
Right.
And if we can't point to our historical references and if we can't point to things like that in art, in history, where do we...
Yeah.
We're repeating history now
Right.
because we've been stripping those truths away.
Yep.
So for me, could the help be made today? I don't know. Should the help be made today? Absolutely. It represents real people who made real contributions to society who were never rewarded for those contributions.
Exactly. So their stories should be told.
Their stories
Be
should
heard.
be told.
For me to sit there and watch that movie and be a white guy from New York City, it was very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story I get stuff from.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is a very slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. But because I just remember everyone saying, for me, and this is my truth as a black actress in Hollywood, is diversity and inclusion. I don't have a diversity problem. Mm-hmm. I'm a black woman.
Right.
I don't have a diversity problem.
Right.
I think when we don't include people from all walks of life, when we don't see that representation on film and television, in books, in literature, there is a sense of invisibility and people not understanding the contributions that all people made to this, the fabric of this society.
Right. Welcome back to my conversation with Octavia Spencer on Table for Two. I just love talking to Octavia because, she reminds me of what it can mean to not only have a big heart in the entertainment business, but really how important it is to help people behind you become successful. You use the word invisibility, and I think it's a great word because I've often said growing up in the 80s and being a gay guy, I learned how to become visibly invisible. And I feel like when you were growing up, were there people that you felt you saw yourself in? And now sitting in the seat that Octavia Spencer sits in, this huge heart, what is the responsibility? Or do you feel a responsibility that comes with that?
I think if you had asked me when I was 26 if I felt a responsibility, even though I had nothing to be responsible for because nobody knew my name, but if I were successful at 26, I would have said, no, I'm an artist and I want to, my job as an artist, as a creative person, is to shine a light, illuminate things in society, but also provide a little bit of escapism, have a voice in the creative process. I don't want to bear a responsibility. And now where I am and understanding that women of color didn't necessarily have access or a voice in their place in this industry. I do have a responsibility, and I'm excited about having that responsibility. That's why I'm excited about being a producer. Growing up, I looked like most people out there for my inspiration. And so you saw the Oprah Winfreys and the Cicely Tysons and the Diane Carrolls. And oh my God, because I'm a big literature nerd. I'm an English major. So that's all I did was read. And Dr. Maya Angelou and so many, artists and writers, Baldwin, what I mean?
Sure.
So I looked outward, and of course I was inspired by their work. But now at this age, I remember it was my mom, working to make sure that we, had education and access to a life that she wasn't privy to. Mm-hmm. As I think about my college days, my mom passed when I was 17. It was my sisters, all of us working, jobs and getting scholarships and student loans to help pay for each other's education.
Right.
So where I sit now, yes, there were a lot of people that were visible to me, and educators were very important to me because they were always encouraging me to, I always say, reach for the tallest branch on the highest tree, because the further you reach, the further you'll go.
Right.
But now I realize it was family and that insulated group around me. And that's why family is so important to me, and friends are so important, because it's life imitating.
Yeah. I mean, you're a master storyteller. What do you love about producing? Like, what do you look for?
It's funny that people don't know this, but there are a few things that if my mom had lived, I would have definitely, gone to law school and, been a part of a different world. And this is more the dream that I had for myself.
Right.
But I actually wanted to be a producer, even though I didn't know what producers did. And now that I realize that that's what you bring, you put the projects together. You're the puzzle person.
Right.
And I've always been a puzzle person in real life.
Okay.
So I wanted to do that first. And it's funny that acting facilitated that, because,
Yeah. Well, you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Right.
The chicken or the egg.
Right, right.
I got the egg and the chicken, and I'll take them both. I like eggs and I like chicken. My very first producer credit, and it was an executive producer credit, was Fruitvale Station.
Okay.
I and Nina Yang Bon Jovi and Forrest Whitaker. It was their movie, and Ryan Coogler wrote it, and I read the script and loved it. And I don't know why I thought Ryan Coogler was a young Jewish kid.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I thought, this kid who probably has no relationship to Oakland or whatever,
right.
Wow, he was able to really get in there, and I feel it so visceral. And I wanted to do it. And when I met Ryan, I was like, you're not, okay, so there's so much that I got wrong. But falling in love with that script and being a part of that production, and talk about a diverse crew, it was just one of the most amazing experiences that I've had as an actress. Man, though, we've come a long way, and I don't think it's been a good trajectory, because I did Fruitvale Station about, gun violence and, violence against young black men, because I'm not a mom, but I'm a sister, I'm an aunt. Aunt, we say aunt. I'm an aunt. And, I'm a cousin, and I'm a friend. So I wanted to be a part of that film. And how I became a producer is that movie was only made for like $900,000, and they had $150,000 fall out of it. I had just won the Academy Award for The Help. I had just finished Snowpiercer. We were filming in the summer, and some other financing fell through. And I said, well, I have some nouveau riche friends. Let me call them. They got some money from The Help. And, let me call some people.
Yeah.
And I made some calls, and we were, and I put a little money in, and we're just patching things together. And Nina and Forrest were so generous. Because the other thing, when I realized, they didn't have a budget, and they had me in this wonderful hotel. And I was like, well, I can pay for my own hotel. Let's use this money and this per diem for me, and let's use it to, get other actors. And so they were so generous and said, you've done so much. Can we offer you an executive producer credit? Wow. And of course I wasn't going to turn that down.
Sure.
And so then I just started, it's just what I gravitate towards as an artist. If it resonates with me, I feel like hopefully it'll resonate with audiences. Yeah. But I always look for stories that might at first seem bleak, but there's always a thread of hope and light in the end.
I have another surprise for you.
Oh, you had a
Tate Taylor said you like empanadas.
Oh my God. I'm going to kill Tate.
You can take these home.
He's killing
too.
my diet.
It's 2 beef and 2 chicken.
I love you so much right now.
So meanwhile, so they're Argentinian. These are supposedly the best in LA. Small little place on Sawtell and Venice Boulevard.
This is like Christmas. Can I just clink? Look, can we do another clink on that? Because this is just amazing. Thank you.
When you're having lunch with BB, we have to make it special.
It's
I have
pretty
Octavia
special.
Spencer at the table. Okay, Octavia's clapping, which means it's good.
It's so good.
I totally screwed up your January.
No, you didn't. You just made me realize that it's about life and I have to moderate.
Octavia, your body of work is amazing, and it speaks for itself. So along the way of making those choices, I'm sure there's a multitude of choices that you didn't or you've said no to. What makes you not do a project?
It's interesting. I know some people when they read a script, they look at their character and the prominence of their character, and my character could be the lead, my character could be part of an ensemble. It's just, what is the contribution of that character? How integral to the story is she? But I choose projects as a whole. When I sit down and I read the script, if the creatives behind it, if I don't believe that they're going to be able to execute it in the manner that the script, it has to be on the page. But if it's not, if it's on the page and the people around it aren't, they don't have to be named or storied people.
Right.
They just have to know what they're doing.
Right.
And I love writer-directors. 90, I would say 85, 90% of the work that I've done is for people who've written things for me, or they are the writer-director.
Right.
And I love that because if you're the writer-director, you're not looking through someone else's lens. If it's on the page, I know that you're going to be able to execute it.
Right.
Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water.
Yeah.
I was only supposed to meet with him for like 30 minutes, and it turned to like a 3-hour lunch. We had the best time because I was a big fan of his. And he said, I wrote this script. I'm going to send it to you, and I'm not going to tell you anything. And I was like, well, okay. I got home and I read the first page. My character's not in the first page. Right. But I read the first page and I called him and I said, I'm in. He's like, you haven't even had time to read it. But I read the first page and I knew.
Yeah.
I just knew. And then when my character, it does come into the script, I was already in, and I'm in. Just tell him I'm in.
Okay, so you talked about, I didn't know you were a literature major. So what are you reading now? What are you reading and what are you binging?
Right now I'm reading Michelle Obama. I think she's an amazing writer, and she has just had a really interesting life. The next thing that I want to do is join a book club and read multiple things at once. Right. Because I used to have this voracious appetite for material. And now I'm thinking, well, where do I look?
I've never been a huge reader. I like the idea of reading. I'm the slowest reader. Like, I was reading The Kite Runner, and 4 years later, Larry Diller said, so how's that book? I'm like, I'm on page 30.
Oh, I can't laugh.
And he's like, they
laugh.
made the movie. I haven't finished it, all right? But I'm getting a lot better.
I get really caught up into my genres, and
What are your genres?
I love mysteries. I literally live in the mystery world and thrillers. And so anything Patterson does, it's like,
Yeah.
And I love Dean Koontz, and I love all of, but they're a little spooky and a little, so now it's funny where I am in life. I kind of don't want the fantasy of those things anymore. I'm into other people's life experiences and not fiction, nonfiction. So that's where I am. And it's a weird place because I have stacks of books that are like getting dust that I haven't cracked open yet.
Yeah.
That I bought. And I also love reading children's literature.
Right. Do you love reading it, or did you have a project?
I actually wrote a children's book because
right, that's what I'm thinking. I'm pulling it. I'm yes.
I am dyslexic.
Okay.
And mystery saved my reading life because my teacher in the first grade gave me Encyclopedia Brown, and she said, you're going to want to pay attention to everything in the book because you don't know what is a clue. And of course you're like, because I would tap out a text, you know, I would start reading, and if the narrative didn't catch me immediately, I'm like, I can't do it. Then when I started reading mysteries, I couldn't put them down. Right. You know,
it hit those brain cells in a different way.
In a very different way. I mean, I read every Hardy Boy, Nancy Drew book.
Really?
Every single one. I read every Encyclopedia Brown, the Boxcar Kids, like every single one. But that's kind of who I am when I become a fan. I then have to consume everything you do.
That's the tribe you're in. You all are just fully in.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I think is so spectacular about everything you and your group is, like, you're like, oh, we're in. Like, we're going to go, and whether it's just going out to some steakhouse and, like, 6 hours away.
You know as well.
Big Cadillac, and John's driving, you know? It's like, because you're like, where am I now? What state am I in?
What am I doing? Yes.
How is everything?
Eric is I like you.
Eric's good. I mean, Eric's got the mullet of the century.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, it's good.
Oh, I thought it was a ponytail. Oh, look at you. It's cute.
It's a mullet. No, it's...
It's my Wisconsin waterfall. I'm trying to...
I love you. I was always being asked, Hollywood has a diversity problem. I said, well, Hollywood may, but I don't have a diversity problem.
Yeah.
I'm diverse in my nature.
Right.
And that's what I love, though, about finding projects and being a producer, because the other question I'm asked a lot is, what's the role you're meant to play and destined to play? And that you want to play, and the role I've always wanted to play, the role that I feel that I'm destined to play, is that of a producer, to create opportunities for everyone who wants to be a storyteller, but especially people who don't have access to opportunities.
Is there something that you would like to bring to screen, someone's story that you would like to tell?
It's funny because Donna Gelati, producer of Hidden Figures, brought me a script, and she's just one of the most fascinating people. The subject of the script, Debbie Roundtree Johnson. I don't want to say too much about her story, but I'll tell you off the mic.
Okay.
But I am excited about telling her story. She was a lawyer. She lived to be 104. She had the opportunity to be the national head of the NAACP. And she actually chose to take on a case that was in her community. And boy, was she up against some very powerful forces. And she won that case. And when you read her story, when you read her, just reading her obituary, it was like, wow. She's one of those women that you kind of really didn't know about. I won't say she was necessarily a hidden figure, but she was.
Yeah.
And I think her story definitely deserves to be told because I get to play a lawyer. I don't have to actually be one. And I'm excited about that because of the impact, I think, that ripple effect that she was able to have in her community.
So amazing, people's lives that you don't know the magnitude, and then when you learn, wow, look what a person can do.
Exactly. The fact that you say that, and I am so grateful for the educators in my life, for my mom, because when you recognize and when you nurture that curiosity in kids, but let them know that they have something special, whatever it is, that we all have something to contribute to the world. Yeah. And if people felt better about what their contribution is, I mean, if it's a person that's an amazing cook and you're feeding, your family, or you want to open a bakery, that should be celebrated. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
No matter how big or how small, those
Right.
contributions are important.
Yep.
And I think the world would be a much better place if people recognize that in each other and encourage that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, Octavia, and I do think that we have tended to value something that's much more glamorous and lucrative, as opposed to valuing the sort of the whole landscape and the small and the significance of the small. And I know you've referenced your mom, and it fills me with such joy and emotion, because you had your mom for 17 years, and the power that she gave you in that short period of time
Absolutely.
is amazing.
It really is.
And that power you have given to all of us.
Oh,
You have.
thank you for saying that. I feel very fortunate, and I love quoting movies, especially The Color Purple. But this isn't The Color Purple. This is Spider-Man. To much whom is given, much is expected. And I definitely believe that for my life and my career. And I'm happy. I'm happy that I have those opportunities.
It's always sad when lunch ends, but luckily for Octavia, I'm sending her home with a jug of Trader Joe's sangria and a ton of leftovers.
Hey, Eric, I'm taking my stuff.
I got it all to go for you.
That's Octavia's.
You got it.
Mama doesn't cook, and when you have good food.
Box office.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So everybody, thank you for pulling up a chair with Octavia and I today. This was a magnificent lunch. You got to check out Truth Be Told on Apple. It's amazing. I love you, Octavia
I
Spencer.
love you too, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for my meal.
Oh my God, my pleasure.
My treats.
Table for Two with Bruce Bozzi is produced by iHeartRadio, 737 Park, and Airmail. Our executive producers are Bruce Bozzi, Jonathan Haas-Dressler, and Nathan King. Table for Two is edited and written by Tina Mullen and researched and written by Bridget Arsenault. Our sound engineers are Emil B. Klein, Paul Bowman, and Alyssa Midgaff. Table for Two's LA production team is Danielle Romo and Lorraine Virez. Our music supervisor is Randall Poster. Our talent booking is by Jane Sarkin. Special thanks to Amy Sugarman, Uni Scher, Kevin Uvain, Bobby Bauer, Allison Cantor-Graber, and Barbara and Jen and Jeff Klein and the staff at the Tower Bar in the world-famous Sunset Tower Hotel. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.